Here we go. It's having a good think about it. Awkward.
I think it's recording now.
It says recording on my scene.
Now it's recording. Hi, everybody. Thank you. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today for the 5th month of May 2022, our Learning with Google 2022 webinar series. We do these every Thursday, third Thursday of the month at 3:30 Australian Eastern Time and 5:30 New Zealand time, and various other time zones all around the country. So thanks for joining. My name is Chris Betcher. Before we kick off, I'll just like to start with acknowledging the traditional owners of the lands on which we meet. I am not in my usual land today. I'm actually in Brisbane, so up on, I believe it's Yuggera land. And so we'd just like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands on which we meet and whose cultures and customs have nurtured and continues to nurture this land. And we honour the presence of the ancestors who reside in the imagination of this land. And then heading over to, heading over to the other side of the ditch to New Zealand, my good friend Fiona Grant has very kindly offered to do this one.
Ngā mihi nui. Kia ora whānau, ngā mihi nui, kia koutou katoa, kia papa tuanuku, tēnā koe. Ki te whare, tēnā koe, ki te tupuna, tēnā koe, tēnā koutou katoa. Tihei mauri ora.
Thank you, Fiona. Much appreciated. You did a much better job than I would have. Wherever you're coming from today, you're most welcome to join us. Welcome to the Google for Education team. We are a small but mighty team to support Google for Education across Australia and New Zealand. As I said before, my name is Chris Betcher. You can see me down the bottom there. I am joined today by Jay Atwood, and I think some of you may not have met Jay before. Jay's relatively new to our team, but certainly not new to Google. If you've ever had a spreadsheet question, Jay is the person who can answer spreadsheet questions. Does pretty amazing stuff with spreadsheets. So today it's Jay and I. Steve might jump in later. He was caught up with something else. Kimberly is on a plane flying to the US. I don't know. The team is all over the place today. So you're stuck with us. I think yes. Paul is in Korea. It's crazy. I am coming to you, as I mentioned, from Brisbane Ashgrove State Library, because later this afternoon we are launching the Brisbane GEG, first inaugural meeting of the Brisbane GEG. And so we might actually overlap a little bit into that, and we'll talk about that at the end. So a few things we want to cover today. Our topic today was talking about digital fluency and digital responsibility. And there's a few things we're going to touch on, and you can see them there on the screen. And Jay and I will attempt to talk you through some of these things as we go through. We've got, thank you, Jay. But are you bringing them in? Thank you.
I'll bring them in, yeah. I'll answer the door here for you.
The doorbell keeps going off. So we're talking applied digital skills, see us first, be internet awesome. We'll tell you about the security checkup that's built into the Google account that you may or may not know about. Steve stumbled on this really interesting project called 22 Digital Days, which we'll tell you about because I thought it was pretty interesting. I just want to tell you about a thing coming up that our big Google is doing called the Anywhere School, and then we'll look at some of the stuff that's new to Google in the last 30 days since we've done the last one of these. And then, as I said, if we have time at the end, we're going to try and cross over into the launch of the GEG. Lots going on. So applied digital skills. So Applied Digital Skills is a program that Google runs, and you can see the link down the bottom there, applieddigitalskills.withgoogle.com, and it's basically a free collection of practical projects designed to teach practical digital skills. When you launch it, even if you as a teacher don't know how to do some of this stuff, what's great about this collection is you can go in there and each lesson actually has its own instructions and its own video tutorials. So even as a teacher who may not have those skills, you can get your kids learning these skills as well. It also integrates directly with Google Classroom, and we're adding new lessons all the time. So I'm going to just come out of this and jump over into there because we'll look at a little live demo. And then I might get Jay to actually run us through one of these things. So I'm just going to go over here. This is the Applied Digital Skills website when you come to it for the very first time. Actually, let's not go to the dashboard. I want to show you the main page. which is that one. Okay, so when you come to apply digital skills, this is what it looks like. And the idea of it is once you log in, and you can see I'm logged in up here in the corner, you then tell it whether you're a teacher, a student, a learner, or a parent or guardian. I will say that when I was teaching it at school, and I taught computing for a long time in high school, and I had this great resource book that I bought somewhere, and I forget what it was, but it was a whole bunch of practical activities for kids to do. And it was honestly one of the best purchases I ever made as a teacher, because it always gave me teaching ideas about what I could do with the kids when I wasn't sure what I was doing. That's basically what applied digital skills is. So you can come in here, log in, and then browse through. So Jay, I might stop sharing and you can throw your screen up, because you're going to walk us through how this actually works, right?
Yeah, let's see if I can pull up the right window.
Not hang up. I'm going to stop sharing. Hand over to my friend Jay.
All right, let's try this one out. Okay, am I sharing the right screen here? You guys see me scrolling back and forth? Okay,
sure
cool.
can.
Sorry, I didn't mean to make you sick there or anything, but the applied digital skills, curriculum it's pretty cool. It's very well developed, and some great features about it that are built right into it that integrate with Classroom already, which is fantastic. So I'm going to go through. I'm going to browse, just look at the lesson collection that they have here, and it's great because they do have everything from late elementary all the way up through adult learners, and these are updated. Every once in a while, you get some new ones that get thrown in here into the mix. But they have our filtering tool here on the left-hand side when you go in and you browse them. And I'm just going to go into a high school one. And of course, like Chris said, I am kind of known to like a spreadsheet or two in my life. So I'm going to just look and see where that what comes up here. And you can go through and see we have 44 different lessons all about spreadsheets, everything you wanted to know and how you wanted to use it, about using a spreadsheet in your class. So when people say, oh, I can't ever do anything with them, well, here you go. Here's all kinds of things. Especially, I saw some in here as well that are related to art, for example, some nerdier topics like machine learning and Earth Day, geography and Earth environment stuff. So we've got a very wide variety of different topics that we have. It's nice. Each one of them has, its length and everything listed right there as well. And you can hear right from the beginning, from this first screen, you can add it into your Google Classroom. Okay, you can share it directly to Classroom. So I'm going to do that with, well, let's pick one. Actually, I don't know. I'm going to do, see if here at the top. This is sort of by popularity. Let's go down. Let's do the most recent. I want a new one. So let's see.
I like that you can sort it by most recent and most popular. I hadn't noticed that.
Yeah, it's good. I actually kind of wanted to find the least popular, so I guess I could scroll to the bottom and find the oldest. But we can do all sorts of them here. Understanding your digital footprint. That's one that we're talking about, safety and everything.
Yep.
Let's take a look at that one. So when you open it up, you've got the basic information about it, an example outcome, which is kind of nice. You can see what it's supposed to look like in the end, and all of the description of the activities, including the skills that are linked to the digital skills curriculum. And then here goes, it walks you through each of the steps one by one, the videos, the assets that you need, the quizzes, and everything that's already built into it. Okay, so that's on this first tab. We have on the second tab here some teaching materials, and that's where we have other materials and videos and everything like that you can include, and you can use certificates of completion after they've done it. You can hand that out to you. So it's all to your students. It's all built right into the lesson for you, which is kind of a nice. I like that you can download the videos too and make them available offline. So you can, if you have an unstable internet connection, that's something you wouldn't have to worry about.
So Jay, can you scroll up again? Under the start button there, it says share to, and it's got Facebook and Twitter, but that other little icon there, that is a Google Classroom icon, right?
That is a Google Classroom icon. It doesn't really show up very well in black and white, does it? But it is, that is share to Classroom. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and I've set up a sample class, and it's going to ask me that. Let's go into Jay's. You can choose an action. I'm going to create this. I'm going to share it as an assignment. And I'll go ahead and go there, and it'll drop me into the basic page here for entering information about our class assignment. This is a class assignment.
So it makes it super easy to once you identify a project, just to push it straight out to the kids and have it tracked in Google Classroom and track
exactly.
Else, yeah.
Yep. So you can use all the features. Yeah, you assign particular groups of students you want, and deal with the assessment criteria and all that kind of stuff right here. Yeah. And then when you assign it, it'll just drop it right into your classroom's feed for you. Okay.
Can you just go back to the applied digital skills?
Yep.
And so to preview it, how would a teacher preview it?
Just by clicking start, I believe. So here we go. So it's going to drop these materials in for you, right? So you've got your lesson or your video resources, instructions for you, so you know what to do as you're going along with it, and share that presentation. In this case, you're going to be sharing a spreadsheet with your class, and you are going to be working through that together. Your students submit their work on the page, and they can view it during my classes. So you can look at it here through this interface, but you can also, like I said, push it directly into Classroom. So if we have the transcript down here below it as well.
Yeah, that's really
so
cool.
It walks you through step by step.
And so each of those videos will just basically walk the kids through what they need to do to learn the skills.
Exactly. So they're quite short. So this is only 1:42, and I'll just start playing one. We can kind of skim through it. Okay, we'll just mute her and let that kind of play. But yeah, it'll walk you through each of the steps that you need to do, and all the things that you need to do along the way, as well as making any curricular connections and real world understanding and stuff like that, all built right in.
Nice.
So yeah,
nice, perfect.
It's very cool.
All right, so that's Applied Digital Skills, and again, it's a great library, and especially for teachers who just aren't sure. You've got to teach a particular topic or a year group or something, and you're a bit stuck for an idea. You just push it straight out to the classroom, and everything you need is there. So it's super useful. Now, since you got the slide deck there, Jay, rather than swapping, you might just bring the slides up.
Yep.
Actually, yeah, you can drive for a bit. How about that?
Okay, I'll drive. That sounds good.
So this is the other thing we were going to tell you about today, and it's kind of similar to Applied Digital Skills in that it works more or less the same way. So this is called CS First. CS stands for Computer Science, and it's a computer science curriculum. So it's a little bit like Applied Digital Skills, except it's specifically about computer science. So if you've been paying attention, we couldn't really avoid it. The big push in schools over the last sort of 5 or 6 years is there's been a lot of talk about coding and STEM and computer science and understanding the way kids use this stuff. So what this is a computer science curriculum built on Scratch. So Scratch is a computer programming environment for kids that comes out of Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Phenomenally great tool for kids to learn programming. But the trouble with Scratch is that, again, if the teacher doesn't know how to use Scratch, then that often becomes a limiting factor for the kids. So what CS First does is it applies that same sort of principle we're using in Applied Digital Skills, creating libraries of lessons and ideas and thematics, projects, and then supporting it with video and notes and stuff, so that even with no computer skills from the teacher necessarily, kids can pick up these skills. A lot of schools will use this either as part of their curriculum, which you can 100% do, but I've also seen a lot of schools use it for things like lunchtime computer clubs or after-school computer clubs, or that kind of thing where you're getting kids involved and they're working at their own pace. Donna, you have your hand raised.
I do. You can tell I'm back in school. Can the teachers, if they assign the kids a activity through CS First, can they see what the kids are doing in Scratch through the CS First interface?
So I know that it integrates with Classroom. So again, you can pick specific modules and things out of CS First, push it out to Classroom, and have the kids doing it that way. And I'm seeing Dr. Craig Hansen here is jumping in with his 10 cents worth. So Craig, you want to unmute, because you just said in the chat there, because you've been using this quite a bit with your kids. So I'd love to hear what you're doing with it.
We had it in Jakarta. I used it in Jakarta when we were there, and we had a large space. So I had 75 kids at a time doing it during an elective session, and we had the grade 9s and the grade 10s could choose to do this or do dance or do drama or something else. And so, yeah, I could see the progress. I set up the classroom. I shared the link. No one else could get into it. I guess like the previous one, Applied Digital Skills, it's got certificates, promotional materials, letters to parents, badges, stickers, and we did all of that, and we made banners. So when the kids walked into school, there were banners there, and we made footprints on the ground for kids to see, to walk in and sign up, and made a big deal about it. That was probably 5 years ago, and they were adding new lessons every few months, series of lessons around topics, and I found it extremely easy to set up and use, and I could monitor and see the progress of every child, and they could see where they were going, and their report card reflected that progress, and their parents could see it as well. So there was no arguing about, did I do it or didn't I do it?
I love how we didn't script that at all, Craig, but you just jumped in with that knowledge and filled in a whole lot of gaps that I couldn't have probably filled in. So that's awesome. Thank you for doing
the invoice is in the mail.
Just out on that, how did you find that the kid, like, how did you feel that their progress as coders, young coders, like, did it make a big difference?
It did. After this, we had a coding class led by one of the senior kids, and that was an elective after school, and the students moved to that class after doing this. So it piqued the interest. It wasn't for every one of them,
Yeah.
but they certainly enjoyed it, found it easy to use. They can problem solve and work together, put on their headphones and listen to music. And it was a nice way to do it. And it wasn't heavily dependent on my skill set, which my skill set was at a 0 or less than near 0. And so they were able to help each other and progress through. So it was really, really effective and developed that that interest for those that wanted it. And we did a big push about possible careers in the future as well with the stuff from Hour of Code. So we used those videos as well to motivate the kids to have a go.
I love it. Thank you. I think you raised a really important point there, and that is that, like, not every kid was that interested in it. And why that's important is because not every kid's going to be interested in coding in the same way not every kid's interested in sport or dance or art or anything. But you expose kids to these things, and the ones who are like, they find their niche, you know. So yeah, super great. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Jay, you're driving the slides. I'll get you to go to the next one.
Okay.
The third program we wanted to talk about as part of our digital fluency and literacy is this one called Be Internet Awesome. And I think this is actually amazing. And Jay, I might take the screen share back, if that's okay.
Okay. You can have it.
Okay, I think I got it. Boom, and done, and okay. And again, if anyone has used this in their classroom and is on the call and wants to jump in like Craig just did and talk about it, we'd love to hear your classroom stories. So Be Internet Awesome is a program that's been developed to teach digital citizenship and digital literacy to students. So it's a free curriculum and anyone can download it. And I think, yeah, let me go full screen on that. Look better. That's nicer. So it's a full curriculum, and you can see if I scroll down the page here, it's got all the different things. It actually divides digital citizenship up into 5 key areas. One's called Share with Care, which talks all about, you know, when you're on the internet, what do you share and do you overshare and what's the appropriate way to share? Don't fall for fake. How do you not get phished? How do you not sort of fall for, you know, all the scams and things out on the internet? Securing your secrets, where it talks a lot about passwords and security and making sure that, you know, you're not just allowing other people to access your things when they're not supposed to. Cool to Be Kind is a really interesting module that talks about why, you know, on the internet, and we really need this one these days, honestly, about being kind online, because I don't think you have to look very far to realize there's a lot of people that aren't that kind online, and they could do with this module. So really important for kids. And then the last one, When in Doubt, Talk It Out, is all about relying on responsible adults. So talking to their parents or their teachers and sort of, you know, having that responsible adult that kids can talk to. So they're the 5 modules.
Which age group is this more keyed towards?
I believe it's targeted towards sort of upper primary, lower secondary.
Okay.
Again, Craig is saying they use this with grade 4 to 8. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, it is a pretty cool curriculum. And here's the thing. Now, when everyone comes to this, the first thing they see is this thing called Interland, right? So let's get that out of the way. There is a game attached to this called Interland. And if you click on that, it will open up. It'll load. It takes a moment to load because it's biggish. But it's like a video game. And there's 5 worlds in this video game, and each world corresponds to one of those 5 areas that I just mentioned. And as you go and play, you become this character that runs around, and you sort of, run around giving hearts to people to show you care for them, and sort of, jumping on buttons to put a cage around the bullies so they don't bully people. So it's a really neat game. If I hit this Let's Do This button, and we'll fly over to one of these games, Mindful Mountain. So we'll play. I played this just the other day to work through it. It's pretty cool when that loads. Now, kids love games. They love playing the games. And I think sometimes, one of the traps I see people fall into when they get into this is they see the game and they kind of think that's all there is. There's so much more to it than that. So when you zoom in there, I think the frame rate on that is okay over the video call.
Yeah, it works.
Yep. So it's just talking that about what you need to know, blah, blah, blah. And then you come over here and you've got this particular game. You move this little thing around. Come on, load. Okay. So it loads, and then you get this little thing here. It tells you what you got to do. Yes, we're going to get the secret password to the treehouse. Who should we share that with? And then, there's the friend over there. So the idea is you put the secret password in, you push this little thing across, and then you fire the gun, and hopefully, oh, I didn't do it right. So I pressed the wrong one. But it's a video game, and kids really dig it. So, but that's the thing. Not to get sort of too trapped into that. Let me pause that and get out of there. How do I get out of there? Oh, yeah, I just closed that. Okay, so what I want to draw your attention to as teachers, yeah, the game's good, but come up here at the top, you've got families, educators, some slides, news, and so on. If you go to the educators section, this is where the real meat is. There's the game, but scroll down, and you've actually got this whole curriculum here that you can actually download in multiple languages.
ISTE.
If you click, and it's all ISTE aligned with the ISTE standards. So when you come in here and you look at this, and Jay, I'll let you deal with that one. There you go. Thank you.
Yep.
So you've got this whole curriculum here with a table of contents and activities and all the teaching notes and all the teaching activities. Everything you would need to know to launch a digital citizenship program with your kids, it's all here. And it's all aligned to the ISTE standards, which are kind of the global standards for this kind of thing. So all the activities are there.
Fiona has her hand raised too.
Bingo cards there. All the bits and pieces for all the different activities, frequently asked questions. It's all there. So
Awesome.
That's, to me, that's the real meat here. Once you teach all that stuff, yeah, it's good to go to the video game, give the kids some fun to play the games and reinforce the concepts. But all the important stuff, I think, is in that curriculum. If you go,
Hey, Chris, Fiona has her hand up here.
Oh, sorry, Fiona.
Has her...
Thanks. Actually, Chris, most of it you've actually covered. I was going to recommend. I've used it in conjunction with our digital citizenship program that we already have. And what probably attracted me to it first was the use of the language. So we've always focused on elevating the positive language, and that relentless focus on that. And when this program first came out, and I saw it actually at first time at ISTE, that was what attracted me to it initially, was that positive language, be internet strong, be internet brave, be internet kind. I find that the content that's in here is really great. It gives me an option to edit and change, and I can repurpose to suit the actual learners I'm going to be teaching. And then I find that we got the most out of using the little games at the end, because if we've kind of empowered them with that vocabulary and that positive language, then when we play the games, I get them to pair up and discuss what their decision making process is around that as well, and it becomes a lot more of a richer experience for them rather than just going straight in and playing a game.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. It's really good. That link that I clicked before, the whole curriculum, It's in English and Spanish, but you can also Internet Alert, Internet Strong, Internet Kind, Internet Smart, Internet Brave, the 5 modules. You can also download each individual module separately, so you don't have to have one huge PDF. The other thing that's really cool in here is there's ready to teach Google Slides, so you can use them directly in your classroom, and they're already enabled for Pear Deck. So if you've ever used Pear Deck, which adds interactivity to the slides where kids can sort of vote and drag things around, it's all built in. So I think it's a fantastic teaching resource for teachers to use as a ready built thing for digital citizenship. There's actually there's a guy here in Australia, Marty McGoran, who's a Google certified trainer, who's built a side gig outside of his teaching career, teaching digital citizenship using this curriculum, and then I think turned it into a full-time gig. So there's some really cool stuff in here. Fiona,
Great.
thanks for sharing your insights on that. I'm just going to come out of there and go back to our slides. So we talked about that one, we talked about that one, we talked about that one. Okay. Let's just talk about this thing, the security checkup. So I'm imagining everyone in this call has a Google account. You're probably using it right now. And the thing is, when you have your Google account, if I open a new tab here, let me just come back out of full screen mode. If I open a new page, you'll notice that up in the corner here, there's this little logo, which is my account, right? You'll have your photo or your initials or something in the little circle up in the top right. And when you click on that, you have an option to manage your Google account. And it's a really good idea to do this yourself, but also to teach your students to do this occasionally as well, to just come in here and look at their settings. There's a couple of things I want to draw you to here. One is under the security setting here, there's a thing in here called where it says your account is protected, and it says see details. And this will actually give you a security check, and it will actually tell you all the different aspects of your account. And if it thinks it's safe, it'll give you a little green tick of approval. So if you, for example, if you've reused the same password over and over and over again on different sites, which by the way is not a good idea, it will flag that as a potential problem. If you've signed into lots and lots of devices, like maybe, I don't know, gone to the public library and signed in and forgot to sign out, right? It'll tell you that sort of thing here. So it's a really neat idea to come in here and just check every so often to make sure that your passwords are good, you're not signed into any machines you shouldn't be signed into, and so on. Has anyone actually done this?
Yeah, you can sign out of other devices that you find that you are still signed into from there, I think, can't you?
That's right, yeah. So you can see if I click on this right now, it's telling me I'm signed into a few different things. So like this one here, this MediaTek tablet, for example, I know what computer that is. So it's a Chromebook sitting at home. I don't really need to be signed into it right now, so I can come in here and actually sign out of that device, and it'll sign me out of that machine. So super useful if you've accidentally been logged into something and you forgot to log out or whatever, or just knowing. Sometimes I came in here one time and I was like logged into 16 devices, and it's like, I don't know what most of them are, so I better sign out of them. So it's a good skill to have to teach your kids that sort of stuff. But the other thing I just thought I'd mention, because someone asked me about this the other day, this has nothing to do with the topic we're talking about, but still useful to know, and that is if you go into personal info in here, and you scroll down a little bit, there is a section in here where you can set your language. And I had some people, I'm running a course for some teachers at the moment in Google Classroom. Well, I mean, we're using Google Classroom for the course. And when I kept talking about the done button or the hand in button, and I had teachers going, oh, mine says turn it in. Why does yours say like hand it in? And it's all to do with the language that you've got set. So if you come in here and you look at the language you've got set, you might find that, you've set to the English United States as your primary language, in which case you'll get American terminology rather than Australian terminology. So if you want to add a language, you can click on the add language button there, choose which version of English or whatever language you want. Oh, look, they have Esperanto. You click on English, and if you pick a language that has multiple variations, like there's lots of versions of English, you can come in here and pick your particular flavor. I'm pretty sure they have New Zealand in here as well. There you go, they do indeed. I'm not sure what the difference is, but maybe it's, I don't know, jandals instead of thongs, or eskies instead of chili beans or something. I don't know. But anyway, you can come in and choose your favorite variation of English and add that as a priority. And then this arrow here lets you elevate that. So right now, Australian English is my main one. and I've also got English US in here as well. But if I wanted English US, I could click the arrow and it makes it the main one. So you can order your languages as you like. I don't really need English US. I'm going to get rid of that one. So now I only have
I'm
English.
interested which one was hand in and which one was turn in. Which language?
I think hand in was Australian. I think from memory.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'd never thought of that.
No, actually, I think if you said to Australian, it says mark as done, which is actually a nicer way to say it. Donna.
So if you have multiple languages, so I only get my kids to have English New Zealand, but if they have multiple languages, how do you switch to the one that's not your primary language or your preferred language?
I think it's one of those things that degrade, and that's a good question. I don't 100% know the answer, but I think the answer is that it degrades gracefully. So if it uses Australian English for something, if it comes across some terminology that's maybe not covered in there, it'll fall back to the next one down. I think that's the way it works. But that's a good question, and I should probably find the real answer rather than just make stuff up. All right, so that's the security check. Really good idea. Show your kids, show your colleagues, and that's good. Now, this is the next thing I just wanted to mention. Our friend Steve, who most of you know because Steve often joins us on these calls, told me about this the other day. I had not seen this before. This is called 22 Digital Days. By the way, I am going to drop the link to this slide deck so you have the slides. Sorry for the horrible screen thing there coming up. I'm just going to pop that in the chat. There you go. I've just given you the link to the slides. I should probably make sure that you have access to them. Links vary. Look at that. Anyone with the link can view. Should be good. If you can't access it, let me know. But in the slide deck, you've got these two links here. So 22 Digital Days is a project that I'm actually not sure where it came from, but I like it because what it does is come here, click on that. There you go. It'll take you to a viewable slide deck, so you can't edit this or anything. It's just to explain how it works. But it's a challenge of 22 different digital activities that you can attempt over 22 days. They don't have to be consecutive 22 days. You can do more, you can do less, I suppose, if you're a troublemaker. But the idea is you get these challenges every day. So if I go in here, it'll give you a tracker. They suggest using social media to share it back with hashtag 22 Digital Days. Obviously, that's optional. You can do that if you want. Or there's a form there you can complete just to sort of turn it into more of a social activity. But the idea is that there's a whole bunch of suggestions here about what you might do. So, first one there, use a Google form with students. Okay, I'm sure a lot of people in this room have done that, but maybe you haven't, or maybe your colleagues haven't. So there's an idea for something you can do to expand your digital literacy, or how to get the time in Chrome. How do you create a Google site using a template, and so on. So these are different ideas that you can latch onto one of these and expand on them. Now, if you go down through the master deck, it actually unpacks a little bit of these tasks with you. So that first one about having your students complete a form, there's some suggestions there, auto assessment, mathematics warm up, maybe a well-being check-in, using a forms template for an exit ticket. There's a whole bunch of ideas. So they'll try and just not only just say, hey, try this, but give you a couple of suggestions as well for what you might do. And all of those links will take you through to examples or explanations about each of these activities in case you're not sure. So I really like the idea of 22 digital skills. What you can do, if you go back to the main slide deck here, I've put a link in here where you get a copy of the slide. So if you click on that, it will take you to this page here, which I've set up as a template. And you can click the little use template button up in the top corner there, and it will make a copy for your Google Drive. If you want to know how I did that, you can ask and I will tell you. Otherwise, that's fine. But yeah, it'll make a copy for you, and then you've got all the activities there. This particular deck only has 2 slides in it. It's the explanations and the progress slide. So what they suggest with the progress slide is as you do each of these, you grab a little star, drag the little star onto each one so you can indicate that it's been done. So anyway, you don't have to use it exactly as it is, but I think it's a nice idea and maybe a good idea starter for a similar kind of project. I'll just pause there in case anyone has any thoughts, ideas, suggestions, comments, provocations.
Why did I stop at 22? It's an odd, odd number.
Yeah, it
Or
is.
not odd. It's even number technically, but
isn't it?
it's a
I
strange
don't
one.
know. 3 weeks and 1 extra. I don't know where the 22 comes from. That's a good question. Anyway, so that's 22 digital days. A couple of ideas for you. I want to tell you about the Anywhere School. It's we run these once a year. This is done by Big Google and the global marketing team. And what it is basically our annual announcement of new features. Some of you on this call, I know, are trainers or innovators, and you might have had a little sneak peek occasionally that we give you guys a little sneak peek. But for those of you who haven't had the sneak peek, this is where we announce everything once a year. It's happening on June 8th. It's happening at 10 a.m. as a live stream. If you'd like to tune in live, it is recorded, so you can always go back and watch the recording if you can't stop work at 10 o'clock in the morning, or 12 o'clock if you're in New Zealand. But yeah, there'll be deep dives, there'll be demos, there'll be explanations of new products. You'll hear from product managers and project leads and all sorts of stuff. So it is a nice little snapshot into what's going on at Google from an education perspective. The link is down the bottom there. You've got the slide deck, so you should have that link. I'd encourage you to sort of sign up for that. And even if you can't watch it live, if you sign up for it, you'll get the notifications about the replays and the live recordings. All right. And then how are we going for time? Oh, we're doing really well for time. A couple of things that are new with Google. Jay, jump in on any of these if you like.
Okay.
So first of all, we had Google I/O. So I mentioned Anywhere School is our kind of education-focused event. Well, we have a much bigger, non-specific education-focused event once a year called Google I/O. It's actually a developers conference. So it's primarily all the people who are building software and developing all these tools, Google partners, that kind of thing. If you click on that link, it will actually take you to a Google I/O overview. The actual event went for like 2.5 hours, but this is a 12-minute version of it. So it'll cut it down to the most important bits and pieces. It's actually a really interesting 12 minutes to watch. I won't do it to you now because you can always watch videos in your own time. But it does go through and just unpack some of the really interesting stuff we've done, new releases for Android, new releases for some machine learning stuff that we're doing. There's a whole bunch, we're doing a whole bunch of stuff with a new thing called Lambda 2, which is a language processing model, which is very conversational. There's some new AI releases and stuff there. So do check it out if you get time. It's pretty cool. Now, I've linked a whole bunch of other things here. Reorganize menus in Google Docs. I'll open a new Google Doc over here. Let me just go to this tab and docs.new. I'm sure most of you know that shortcut, but just in case you didn't, if you go to the address bar at the top and just type docs.new, you'll get a new Google Doc. And yes, sheets.new and forms.new and slides.new, they all work as well.
Even singular, doc.new, I think, does it as well.
Yeah, I think you're right, actually, doc.new. So this is kind of just a small thing, but we've rearranged the menu structure in here. So if you're not paying attention to this sort of stuff, you can get caught out where you come and you go to your Google Doc that you've been using for the last 10 years, some of you, and suddenly everything looks different. So I just want to point out that now when you go to the menus here, each menu item actually has a little icon in front of it, because apparently we did a lot of testing and found out that really helps people if you put an icon in front. But also, we've rearranged some stuff. So if you look at what's here now and the order that these things are in, if you remember the old menus, they're in completely different orders now. So we've got fewer items on the menu now. We've got edit, view, insert, format, tools, and then there's some extension stuff there, or the J level stuff, and then but most of the other stuff, if you're looking for it, it may be under a different menu. So in case you're looking and you can, well, where did that go? I can't find it. Just hunt around the menus because they are.
I found that the view one is the one that's a little bit awkward. Sometimes things have ended up under the view menu, and especially like in sheets, like when you look for hiding the grid lines and stuff in sheet, that's now found under view for some reason, which I guess makes kind of some sense, but it didn't. You just have to kind of be a little bit more, open-minded, I guess, and thinking about where it might have ended up. But it is still kind of purpose-driven. What do you want to do is kind of the first question. Do you want to edit something? Do you want to view something? Do you want to insert something? Is kind of your first starting point for thinking about where and how those are organized.
I'll take just a second to just talk about one thing that we do a lot at Google. I don't know if some of you might not be familiar with this idea of what's called A/B testing. So whenever we have an idea for a new a change to anything, really, we do what's called an A/B test, where we create two versions of it. It's a bit like going to the eye doctor and he said, which is better, one or two? So we create two versions of something, and then we track the results of how successfully people are interacting with it. And we obviously go with the one that is the most successful for most people. And by doing that over and over and over again, we eventually iterate towards what seems to work for the majority of people. So anytime you see a major change like this, you can be 100% guaranteed at Google it's a data-driven decision, and we didn't just change it because someone thought it looked better. There's lots and lots of design and research and A/B testing that goes on behind the scenes before we make any change like this. There's billions of users of these tools, so we definitely want to make sure we get it right for people. So that's that one. New storage management tool for admins. I've linked there to the main article from it, but we've talked in previous episodes that the storage in Workspace was once unlimited, and unfortunately we've had to put a few limits around it because there was some people sort of using more storage than perhaps was reasonable. So we've just released a tool for administrators to go in and actually run some back-end checking on that storage. You can go and see who's using the storage, how much they're using. If you want to put limits on things, so you might want certain users to have less storage or more storage, you can apply all of that sort of stuff as well. Oh, Dr. Craig says he's managed to identify 9 terabytes of greedy storage, people using greedy storage. Yeah. It's really interesting, Craig. Whenever we dig into this, it's always a case of most people are using a reasonable amount of storage, but it's always 1 or 2 people that seem to be just using like outrageous amounts of storage. And as usual, it's the few that ruin it for the many. But yeah, the storage tool helps you identify and manage that. So that's now available to everyone in the admin console. In Google Meet, which we're using right now, you can assign a co-host. So, for example, in this meeting, Jay and I are co-hosts, so we can do more things than you guys can do. No, right? But typically up to, I think, last week, you could only assign a co-host once you were in a meeting. What you can do now, if you go to Google Calendar, and if I just go here to Google Calendar and I click on this little button there. Actually, that's a bad example because that one's already in play. Let me make a new meeting. If I just go into calendar and create a new meeting here and I go to more options, now what you can do when you add the meet call to a meeting and you click on the little gear wheel up here, you've now got an option called co-hosts. And so you can assign your co-host now before the meeting actually starts. So you don't have to wait now until the meeting starts and then make people co-host. You can do it all in advance. And when those people join the meeting, they're automatically elevated to the co-host permissions. I guess that's the word.
And then they can help let other people in if it filters out or impacts the other settings, right? In some of those in Meet about having to be let into a meeting, or if you can get in there before the meeting actually starts. If you're late as the host, you can have your co-host can go in and start doing that for you if they get in there first, for example.
Yeah, absolutely.
Chris, sorry.
Yeah.
I tried about, it was probably before these changes, to set up breakouts in the calendar event. But then when we got into the breakout, it hadn't stuck. Do you know if there's...
Well, I know it's supposed to be working because if you come in here again, like same thing I just looked at, there's an option here for breakout rooms. And I'm now in this call, so it's a bit hard to demonstrate, but you can designate the number of rooms and the participants. So this would be based on who's been invited. So if I'd invited 20 people, I can create 4 rooms and put 5 people in each room or whatever. I can do that before the meeting starts.
Maybe I need to go back and have another go at it. Yeah.
So long as you hit the save button, which you kind of have to, it should just pre-create the breakout rooms and pre-populate them with people. The one thing I have noticed is that if people don't turn up to the meeting, then that kind of throws things out a bit because you end up with breakout rooms that could potentially have people missing, or potentially everyone didn't turn up to that particular group. So just be careful of that. But with students, it should be fine because I guess they're mostly there all the time, hopefully. All right, just last couple of things. Moving folders from My Drive to shared drives. This has been a huge sticking point. It's just something you've not been able to do in shared drives before. Some of you, I'm sure most people you know the difference between a My Drive and a shared drive. My Drive is the stuff that you own. Shared drive is the stuff that the organisation, the school, owns. And so it's a pretty good idea to actually move a lot of school intellectual property into a shared drive so that the school becomes the owner of it, so that when people leave school, you don't have the problem of everything disappearing. It's been a problem to move folders into shared drives up to this point. So that's now fixed for administrators. So regular Joes like us can't necessarily do it, but the administrator can now go in and move folders into shared drives, which is probably the way it should work. The last two things, joining a Meet call in doc sheets or slides. Donna.
Sorry, Chris. When the admin moves the folders, is it irrelevant who owns those folders? Like, can they move any folder that's within that school's domain?
I believe so. This was only announced just last week, a couple of weeks ago maybe. And I haven't tried it myself yet, but I believe that's true. And I saw Jay nod.
Yeah, I think once it goes in, it becomes owned by the school, and you can't get it out. You can't remove it from the shared drive as a way to getting out. Even the person who created the document.
But I think you're right, Don. I think that as an administrator, even if that folder is full of files that are owned by multiple different people, as an admin, you can move the folder. But I will test that. But I'm pretty sure that's the way it works. There's a nice little feature in here that it's kind of hard to demonstrate, but I'll see. You can see I'm in a Google Slides presentation on the screen here. I have a button up at the top here that looks like the Meet icon, and I have a button here now, and you guys should have it, that says bring the call here, right? And now, do I dare to try this? I'm not going to try it because I could drop the whole call, and I don't want to do that. But you try it, right? What it does is typically what happens, I'm in a Meet call, and I'm in a document, and I want to work in the document, but I also want to see all your smiling faces. If I'm on a computer that has a second screen, that's fine, because I can have you on one screen, I have the document on another screen, and the world is good. But if you have a single screen, it's a bit of a problem. You're going to keep switching back and forward between the document and the call. What you can do now is click this little button here and say, bring the call here. Should I live dangerously and do it?
Should I can try to bring it to mine here.
Yeah, I'm going to live dangerously and see what happens. So what it'll do when I click this button, it'll bring the Meet call into the document. Let's see if it works. See if I can not kill this call. Bring the call here. You are presenting to this video call. Great, let's do that. Oh, you know what? You know what happened? Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what happened is because I was sharing into that call, it actually doesn't like it. So yeah,
let me see if I can pull it into mine.
Oh yeah. So if you share your hang on.
Here we go.
This is where it gets very Inception when you've got screens.
Well, right now it's very echoey in my head. So I think you guys can see my spreadsheet. Yeah. Is that true?
Yeah.
Awesome. So now you can see. Can you see my sidebar over here?
No.
Okay.
No.
That's a little hard to demonstrate. But there's a panel on the right that has
because you're sharing a tab,
information about it. Sorry.
You're sharing a tab, not the full screen. That's the problem. But what's actually happened on my other screen that you can't see because it dropped the thing as soon as I did it was I'm now in that document, and down the side I've got the right-hand panel, and I can see all of your video feeds on the side panel. So I'm literally in the Meet call while I'm in the document at the same time. So I don't need the two screens. Hard to demonstrate. Try it out for yourself next time you're in a Meet call. It's actually pretty neat the way it works. I'm going to try and come out of that now.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can.
You should take it back.
Can I get back? Can I get back? Can I keep sharing?
I have to. Now, can you?
Yeah, sure. I'm taking over from Jay. There you go. Okay. All right, done. Yeah, that seems to work.
Cool.
All right. And just the very last thing, it's just a minor thing, but it's important. A couple of months ago, we announced custom themes for Google Sites. So you can now make your sites all custom colors and fonts and everything else. The problem with that was it was kind of locked to that site that you made. And if you wanted to use that same theme in another site, you really couldn't. You can now import existing custom themes into other sites as well. So you can build it one place, use it many places. And that's the main ones. We release a lot of new stuff every month. A lot of it is back-end technical stuff. A lot of it is very small features, but that's kind of the main ones I thought might be interesting to tell you about this month. Just to wrap up, we've got our Learn with Google webinars. You're in one of them. We have the next one coming up next month is Exploring the World Around You with Google for Education. So I'm sure we'll be talking about maps and Google Earth and some of the geo stuff, which is very cool. And then the following one, we'll talk about history, culture, and language. We'll be looking at things like translation and arts and culture. And so there's some good stuff coming up over the next couple of months. So we hope you can join us for it. If you want to tell people about these, that'd be great. There's a register link right there. We've got quite a few people who watch the replay, and the more the merrier. If you would like to visit the past webinars that we've done, you can find everything we've done here on bit.ly/AUNZ_webinars. Everything will be on that address, and we're archiving everything there as well. And finally, if you'd like a certificate for giving up an hour of your valuable time today, there is a link right there, bit.ly/GFE certificate, capital G, capital E. If you fill that in, it will use the magic of Autocrat, which Jay Atwood taught me about for the very first time many years ago, to generate a certificate for you and automatically send it back to you. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of this session. Now, for those who want to hang around, I believe the GEG has started in the next room. Jay, tap dance for me for a second. I just want to see what's going on.
Okay. Hey, actually, I have something I can share. It's something that I learned. You guys know about the copying trick in the doc URL? Like if you change the /edit at the end of a Google Doc to /copy, here is something that I learned. There's another way that you can do things. If you put another appendage on there, this I've done it right in here. It's a question mark and then users to invite, and then put somebody's email address. When users click on that, they not only get that, make a copy of it, let's say, but it also then automatically brings up the little dialogue that says share with whomever. So whatever email address you've put up there, it'll automatically do that. So I do a lot of things where people create something from a template and I want them to share it back with me, but they maybe miss out on that step or whatever. If you put this users to invite at the end of it, it will it'll pull that up, and it'll bring up that dialogue automatically when they click on the link. So it takes that step out of the mix for them. So there's a little thing to.
Told you Jay was good for sheets and nerdy stuff.
You're such a geek, Jay. You're such a geek. Can you just stick a screenshot of that somewhere? So
Yeah,
remind me.
definitely. I'll add a slide. I'll add a little slide for it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to wrap us up. They have started the GEG in the next room, but it's just going to be too hard to move things around. So I will keep you updated and let you know what happens. But we're very glad to have started the GEG. For those that don't know, a GEG, a Google Educator Group, is a kind of a teach meet style community-driven community of teachers who just feel like getting together to share ideas about teaching and learning. Potentially with Google stuff, but we don't always talk about Google stuff. We talk about anything we like, but just sharing ideas for teaching and learning. And Leslie Altman, who's also here on the call, is a very involved GEG leader. And I'm seeing who else is. I know Fee, you have been, maybe still are. I've lost touch. But anyway, yeah, check out your local GEG. You can find it on the Teacher Centre. If you go to Community on the Teacher Centre, there's a list of all the GEGs. Find one near you. And I will wrap this up. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks
No
so
worries.
much. Take care.
Thank you for coming. I'm going to turn off the recording.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Jay. Really great.
Yeah, thanks so much.
I'm stopping the recording.